Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United transfer news, as it looks like it's going to be one in, one out very, very soon. Could we get here we goes over the weekend for Lammens and Raasmus Hojlund, one in, one out. Also an update on Antony, what we're going to do in the last few days of the window. What is Lammens all about? People are talking Lammens. We're going to talk Lammens in the sense of what he's actually good and bad at, what his personality is, really good scout report on him. Plus, we've got a few bits on what's going on with outgoings. Amorim himself has spoken about the bomb squad, so we'll talk about that. Obviously, a big game coming up tomorrow. And the Premier League is back as well. Obviously, I'm well on the football roller coaster. I've still got my bloody Bayern and Leipzig shirts from last night. My footballing weekend starts on a Friday night now, but if yours starts on a Saturday lunchtime, we are going to be live for Man City Tottenham on That's Football at 12:30. But we're here to talk about Manchester United. What day does the transfer window actually close? I'm trying to figure it out. So the 30th is a week today, 31st tomorrow. So does it close on Monday, on the 1st? I'm thinking it closes at like 11 o'clock on Monday, a week on Monday. So yeah, there's not long left. I suppose the big question is going to be, what about the midfielder? Which I suppose makes a lot of sense. Guten Morgen, T. Thank you very much for tuning in. I just want to say as well, that was a UK and Ireland stream on YouTube yesterday, and we hit like 19,000 people watching. 50% of our audience isn't from the UK, so that's just ridiculous numbers. And thank you everybody who supports us. It's 7 p.m. on Monday. That's new then, isn't it? That's a new concept. I mean, it means when we do the 8 o'clock show a week on Monday, it will be basically a show. That's going to work really well, actually, because I love the 8 o'clock shows. That's going to be a great show then, because we can actually give a week on Monday on the 8 o'clock show, we can give our marks out of 10 for the transfer window. At the moment, we'll come back to that. I've got a theory. Right, let's get into the news, because there's quite a bit to get into this morning. I want to talk about Lammens, of course, what he's all about, when it could happen, and all that. But I still think there's a slim chance that Emi Martinez doesn't start for Villa today, and that might... it's probably a slim chance. That's very slim. Anyway, Fabrizio Romano with a couple of updates this morning in relation to Raasmus Hojlund and Antony. Let's start off with Raasmus. Remember I said this a couple of days ago. I think Lammens is funded by Raasmus, not by the bomb squad and their late bomb squad. Bomb squad implies, like, you know, something's going to actually happen. You know, like explosive transfer news. Mate, the Shrew squad, the bloody tortoise squad in the autumn, the hibernation squad, the lazy shit squad. Yeah, they couldn't bloody bomb squad. They couldn't put out a bloody match. They don't want to play a match. Anyway, Napoli are now advancing in talks to sign Raasmus. Positive talks took place today with Hojlund and his camp about contract and project for the long term. Man United are informed about talks and ready to get the deal done if the player and Napoli agree terms. There's also talk that Napoli are willing to do the obligation to buy. Obviously, this comes hot. Somebody's calling them the bum squad. I think when they say that, they mean like lazy bum, like they don't want to get off their arse and work. So just the fraud squad. Yeah, there's some cracking names coming in this morning. The tortoise squad, I like. Yes, that was mine. The sewer crew, says Kat. Yeah, we could make a whole show out of this. So in relation to Raasmus, there's also talk. Obviously, Napoli got an injury with Lukaku, so he is out. So Napoli looking at Raasmus. I'd follow Fabrizio on this. All I know is that Raasmus doesn't want to go and never wanted to go. But I think, unlike the bomb squad, there is a realisation that he's not going to be in the squad again tomorrow. And these are games that Man United need to win. He wasn't in the squad against Arsenal, and we chose not to play a striker for the first hour. So I think when the writing's on the wall, common sense and pride kick in. It will be disappointing for him to have to leave Manchester United, but there's some really good options out there, you know. And as I've said before, you don't always get to play for the club that you support. And things don't always go the way you want. You know, I remember Memphis Depay was a Man United fan, wasn't he? So he didn't go well for him either. So I think when you've got Napoli, the Serie A champions, and they're in the Champions League, you're actually taking a step up from Man United technically, because you're going to play in the Champions League and you're going to play for the best team in Italy. So it's a step up, plus you're going to start. Whereas at United, Mason Mount's playing up front instead of you. I mean, with all due respect to Mason Mount, that's the ultimate insult. So I would expect a deal to happen. I'm not being biased because of the shirts behind me, but I personally think if he wants to come back to the Premier League, I'd go to the Bundesliga. I think the Bundesliga is the place now if you want to be coming back to the Premier League, because it's more suitable to the Premier League, and we've seen loads of, well, Šeško himself, Ekatike, Mamouche. It seems to be where Premier League clubs are looking at the moment. But I don't know what options are on the table from the Bundesliga. I mean, how great would it be if he went to somewhere like Leverkusen and reignited his relationship with Ten Hag, or even Leipzig, although, you know, they have got Openda and Romelu now. But Napoli seems to fit really, really well. What does that mean for Manchester United? Well, I don't know what Raasmus' wage is, actually. I should have asked him. No, I should have researched it before I came in. It might be quicker to ask him. Raasmus' wage. Let's have a quick look. So he's on £85,000 a week. It's not. I didn't think it was that big. So £4.5 million a year, which is good. It's good, actually. It would be worse if he was on 200 grand a week, because obviously Napoli wouldn't pay all of that. So let's say we get £4.5 million for the year on wages. And let's say we get 5 million on a loan fee. That's 9 million quid. 9 million on Lammens is sorted, because we won't be paying the full 17. We'll pay probably 50-50. So effectively, we were talking about this 2 days ago. I think Raasmus' departure pays for Lammens, who we'll talk about in a moment. So, but again, you've got to say it is the James Garner effect, where you start getting rid of players that you don't really want to get rid of first, because the players you want to get rid of won't go. And I was having this conversation with somebody late last night. They were like, why have Man United got Lammens? Why don't they get Lammens? And I was like, because we're having to loan Raasmus to get the money to get Lammens, who is an essential signing. We're talking about a loan fee and wages. We're talking around, you know, 7 to 10 million pounds, because we can't raise that from Antony, from Sancho, or from Garnacho, who we're meant to raise is about 60 million. So the reason we haven't got your midfielder, and the reason we haven't got the goalkeeper, is because we can't get rid of the fraud squad, or the Turtus squad, or you know, whatever else you want to call them. And that, you know, whether we like it or not, that has been the delay. There's also an update in relation to Antony coming in, and that's from Fabrizio as well. Real Betis are still working on a deal to sign Antony. Talks are ongoing to agree terms and get green light on deal structure. They are trying their best for Antony's return. You know what? I don't have a problem with any football club. I really, really don't. The third squad, says Krish. I don't have any problem with any club, but I do have a problem with Antony. I do have a problem with Sancho, and I do have a problem with Garnacho. We're Manchester United. We actually do mean something, whether people want that to be the case or not. And I think it's an absolute disgrace to be... every time I think about it, I cannot relate to it. The laziness, the lack of pride, you know, the mercenary element to just ignore your job to get what you want. You know, the sabotage on your own career, the sabotage on your own reputation, the sabotage on the club and fans that have paid your wages says everything I need to know about the people involved in that deal and the players. Because, yeah, Sancho's a bit of a shit, Garnacho's behaved like a shit, but Antony, you know what, he's caused United a few issues over the last 2 years, whether it's been his fault or not. And there's been a lot of shit against him, but there's been a lot of people who've had his back. And his behaviour is just ridiculous to a football club and a football fan base that's actually had his back. To sit there on 200 grand a week for the last 2 months and go, I only want Betis, I only want Betis, I only want Betis. And the fact is, Betis can't afford him. And they can't afford his wages. And he's got 2 years left on his contract at Manchester United on 200 grand a week. So this is not a guy saying, I want to go to a club you don't want to sell me to. I'll take a pay cut. This is a guy saying, I want you to pay me to send me to Betis for free. That's what he's basically doing. It is blackmail in a footballing sense. And it is disgusting behaviour. Unless he wants to come out and tell us something different. And maybe his agent will get in contact and maybe we'll get a different story. But at the moment, we can only deal with fans as to what we see in front of us. And what we see in front of us is a player sat on his arse, not training for 2 months, earning 200 grand a week at Man United, trying to force a loan move back to Betis where we'll pay half his wages again and we won't get a transfer fee. And I'm not saying he's Sancho and I'm not saying he's Garnacho, but that is appalling. And you know what? As I said, we just need to get rid of these players, but he'll be coming back again in a year. Garnacho will be gone. Sancho will be gone because his contract will be gone. He's coming back again in a year. And I think I agree with Carrick. I think he's a right prat. But because Antony's not Sancho and he's not Garnacho, he seems to get a free ride. When you break down what he's doing, I'm not saying it's as bad, but if we didn't have Garnacho and Sancho, he'd be getting a lot more stick. His behaviour's not great. It's not great at all. There are options for you to go and play somewhere else and for us to get a transfer fee. We've massively overpaid you for 3 fucking years. Massively overpaid you. You're on nearly £1 million a month. And you're not even worth a quarter of that. You've gone on loan, you've proved you're a decent player, and now you want to go on loan again. But you still want to earn your 200 grand a week, and you want us to pay half of it. It's shocking. It really is. And you know what? I have sympathy with Ruben Amorim. I have sympathy with Jason Wilcox, and I have sympathy with Omar Barada, because this is a problem they've inherited, and I don't really know what you can do. I really don't. We should hold our nerve. It's World Cup year, says Eamon McAllister. I mean, look, there is that option to say you're not going to Betis. And I think it was Ruben Amorim who, again, sort of hinted at it, that with these players, they've made it very, very clear. He said it in the press conference yesterday. These players have made it very, very clear that they want to leave. And at the moment, they're obviously not training with the team. Once the transfer window closes, and if they're still here, then that's a different scenario, and we'll have to look at how we bring them back in. I don't know whether we would do that, but if we don't have a plan to do that, it weakens us massively in the negotiation stage. It baffles me, says Pete Jones, that players can't be sacked. In a real world job, employers have right to withdraw your contract. Should apply to footballers too. 100%. 100%. Footballers are protected very, very well. If you sign a 5-year contract, there's not a lot a club can do. However, the interesting thing is footballers are lobbying to have the option to get out of their contracts. So that should work the other way as well. Have you watched Lammens play? How good is he? I've heard some fans suggest that despite his potential, his game still includes a number of mistakes. This is a great question, Kev. I want to move on to Lammens. So when are we going to get a Lammens? Here we go. My feeling is we probably won't get this before Tuesday next week. It's a bank holiday in the UK. That doesn't mean anything really, but I just don't think we will. It's also game weekend, so I don't think we'll do it over the weekend. That in itself is quite concerning because the more you push it into next week, we're literally into the last 7 days of the transfer window on Monday. So we need this to happen quickly if we want to do a midfielder. And if Man United drag out Lammens, which they have done in the past, maybe not this regime, but we have done it in the past, a deal can be done 2 weeks before it gets done, but you drag it out towards the end of the window and say, let's try and get Lammens done before the close of the window, and they know it's done, to stop us thinking we're going to get a midfielder. But I read an interesting article on Lammens, and I'm going to share it with you here, just about what he's all about. So in relation to Lammens, this is what it says. This is via Transfer Market, and it's a scout report. Lammens progressed through the youth ranks at Club Brugge, but made just 4 professional appearances, because he was basically blocked off by the goalkeepers ahead of him, who I think was Simon Mingele, I think. Anyway, departed on a free transfer to Royal Antwerp 2 summers ago, and has basically been, playing for Royal Antwerp since then. He's widely viewed in Belgium as the long-term replacement to Courtois with the national team. His underlying numbers highlight his incredible potential, and he possesses an impressive skill set, but there's naturally areas for improvement. Lammens has an incredibly strong mentality and remains calm in all circumstances. He also proved last season that he has real goalkeeping qualities, as no one made more saves in the Jupiler Pro League than he did. In addition, Lammens is a goalkeeper who looks for footballing solutions and is comfortable with both his right and left foot. On areas to improve, to be truly top class, he just needs to improve his accuracy. He dares to make a mistake every game, usually because he still lacks experience in certain situations. These are usually minor mistakes, such as poor kick, but a few have led to goals being conceded due to a misplaced pass or misjudgment of the situation. However, given that he's only just completed his first season as a first choice keeper, he certainly does have room for improvement. So I think that, we could delve into deep levels, but ultimately he's been playing in the Belgian league. When I look at goalkeepers coming into the Premier League, and it was similar with David De Gea, the first thing I look at is the command of your 6-yard box. There are other leagues where crosses come in. We saw it a lot in the Bundesliga game last night with Leipzig and Bayern, and maybe the Bundesliga is quite similar to the Premier League in relation to its intensity and speed. But a lot of European leagues, there is not as many crosses coming into the box. And if you see what Arsenal did to Binder and what they do to many teams, you've got to command your box. The feedback is that he's technically a very good goalkeeper. Most saves in the league he played in last year. Yes, it's a farmers league, someone would say, but you still got to make the saves. If I play for a pub team tomorrow and the team's good and they're shooting it in the top corner and I'm making a save, as a goalkeeper, it doesn't really matter what league you're in, you still got to make the saves. So I think with regards to Lammens, the feedback's very good around the technical side. And unfortunately, Onana is probably the least technical goalkeeper I've seen as our number one in my lifetime. He just doesn't have the wrist action around shots to, it's not just about getting your hand to it. It's about the position of your hand, the angle of your hand. So it's good feedback on Lammens in relation to that. There's good feedback on his command of the box. I think obviously coming into the Premier League, he's going to have to learn that. But I think the biggest two bits of feedback we're getting from Lammens is the mental side of the game. The confidence is so important. I mean, the one that comes to my mind was Dubravka when he was on loan in that game. Simple back pass, completely air kicks the ball. That's nerves, and we've seen it time and time again. There's something about being a Man United goalkeeper that destroys the confidence. I remember talking to Ben Foster about this. Tim Howard's mentioned it. David De Gea's mentioned it. We're not even where we used to be, but there's something about playing for Man United in goal. Barthez struggled, and he was a World Cup winner. You've got to have that mentality, which is why I thought Emi Martinez might have been a good fit. But if Lammens has got that mentality, he's going to need that. He's going to need to be confident. He's going to need to be self-assured. But confidence without ability is nothing, because, to be fair, Onana has got great confidence, but he doesn't have the ability. The other good thing is that the ability with both feet. I mean, it's not something I'd considered. I'm more interested in a goalkeeper that can command his box and make saves. But if he's a modern type of goalkeeper with ball distribution as well, I see that as a bonus. So, look, the feedback's very, very good. I suppose you might say he's only had one full season as the first choice keeper. Would he come in as United's first choice keeper? I think he's got to. I think he's got to come in and challenge for the first team spot, because what I have noticed is over history, especially at United, if you bring a goalkeeper in as the backup goalkeeper, there's not very many examples of them becoming the first team keeper. There isn't. I mean, look, Kuszek came in years ago as a young goalkeeper that apparently had potential. He never made it through. Ben Foster never made it through. De Gea came in as number one and he was young. And I would look at that if I was Ruben Amorim, because Man United's not sporting. And I think if you're bringing him in with the thought of him being your number one, the best way of doing it is what we did with De Gea. We will take on board the inexperience and we will support and nurture that inexperience like we did with De Gea. I would just throw him straight in. I wouldn't bring him in as a backup, because when do you... The problem with bringing him in as a backup is you bring him in as a backup, he plays a Carabao Cup game, he does quite well, comes back out the team. At what point does the backup become the first choice? Like, if he's 23, 24 in a year's time is still young. 25 in 2 years' time is still young. I think you put him in. I don't agree with bringing a goalkeeper in as a backup. You're either ready or you're not. And I think you just put him straight in. Especially because I don't think there'll be a time in our goalkeeping situation where you'll have a better opportunity to bring in a goalkeeper like him, where the patience will be there. I would not bring Onana back tomorrow. I would keep Binder in goal, and then I would replace Binder with Lammens, and the pathway is there. Simple as that. In NHL and ice hockey, you can buy out a player and the players keep 2 to 3 of their remaining salary owed on the contract. We should have similar in football. I think we can do that, mate, but the contracts are so big because people were talking about with Rashford, it would have cost a lot of money. Emily Derry says Lammens will be Amrim's choice. I think if Onana doesn't start against Fulham, we will have a good idea of what the intention is. Look, I did the preview. I don't know whether you've watched it. I don't think Onana starts tomorrow. I think Amorim, one of the big things we respect Amorim for is his honesty and his relentlessness to build what he believes is right. Stubbornness, some might say. Onana was available for Arsenal and didn't make the bench. I wouldn't bring him back in. I really wouldn't. I think you've got 9 days left of the window or 8 days left of the window. 9 days, isn't it, actually? Keep him out the team. He might leave. Onana is this generation's Fabian Barthez, says Gavin. Congratulations on the big news, Mark. I'm also excited to say I've graduated from uni and I've started my new job. Well done, Rajaf. Always good news to be shared. Turkish window still open, says Keel. I think it stays open for another week after hours as well. Have you done that one from Kev? Pete Jones, thank you very much. We should hold our nerve. It's World Cup year, says Eamon. 2 a.m. in LA, and I'm here just to wait for the new goalkeeper. I love the community. It's a brotherhood. Cheers for the deal, Mark. Come on, United, says LA Red Devil. Thank you very much, mate. Let us know where you're watching from. First game, all transfers feel positive. Amorim inherits the bomb squad. Ironically, on paper, is our best attackers. Fans are judging just on result, not the situation. Amorim 2.0 coming. Just look at the Arsenal match, says Seth. We have to acknowledge one thing. This summer, we got our main forward targets before selling the bomb squad. We criticised United for one out, one in strategy, says Derek. And they started treating him like crap after his replacement was signed to force him out. Why was Onana not given the same treatment, says Rory C. Well, he has. I think you're talking about Raasmus, Rory, because as soon as Šeško came in, Raasmus got booted out of the squad. Amorim has spoken about Raasmus yesterday and said that he's training hard, very professional. We'll see if he's still here after the window. But they are trying to force him out, of course. And the way to force somebody out is to take them out of the team. Are we not doing that with Onana? Onana could have played against... I mean, can you imagine 5 years ago if David De Gea had a hamstring for pre-season but was fit for the opening game of the season? Do you think we'd be playing the reserve goalkeeper? You know, you'd be playing David De Gea. So maybe Amorim is doing the same thing with Onana. Kev United, thanks for being a member for 52 months. Did Rasmus's burst of anger seal his fate, says Keel? No, I don't know, but I genuinely do think, like me, and like some of you, I think Amorim would like to keep Raasmus. Because as a manager, there's no manager in the world that's going to say, get rid of my backup striker. He's going to, you know, if you're Amorim, you're going to be, what happens if Šeško gets injured? I've got to use Obi or Xerxes. So as a manager, you want as many options as you can. But this will be the club saying, if you want a goalkeeper, we need to move Raasmus on now. So I think that, I don't think it's to do with the burst of anger. I think it's to do with having to raise some money. Connor says, Champers Mark, thoughts on Lammens as a player? Can he be the number one in between the sticks? Well, we spoke about that, Connor. Thank you very much for that. Lammens is most likely on his way. If he comes in as number one, what the hell do we do with Onana? Very short period of time to get a move, says Emily Derry. You stick him on the bench and you force him out in the long term. I mean, ultimately, you know, the window closes a week on Monday. You could loan Onana and you could cover off some of his wages. It's still a saving. You could stick him on the bench and basically let him know that he's not wanted, and then he'll find a move maybe to Turkey or maybe to Saudi in January. You know what it is, Emily? It's basically what we've been saying for a very long time. Some of these players need to be shown the door. They need to be forced to go. And look, despite what I just said about Raasmus there, I want him to stay because I want us to have many options as possible. I think that if you need to move players out, the best way to do it is to not give them game time. The best way to make players go is to not pick them. Because if they're being picked, but they know that people want to sell them, they're going to go, well, I've got the power. If you don't pick them, you will remove an element of power. So, you know, let's see what happens with Onana, because it was strange to me that we dropped him for Arsenal. If we bring him back in tomorrow, he's going to be empowered. I would remove the power and remove the player. There's an element of risk, but let's be honest, if, you know, is there a hell of a lot of difference between Binder and Onana? I don't know. Great question from Stuart. I was just about to come to this. Do you think we will get a midfielder? The latest on the midfielder is nothing to do with... Sorry. The latest on the midfielder hasn't changed from the update we had on Monday from our source within the club, that we're still looking at a goalkeeper and a midfielder. Now, on Monday, a lot of mainstream journalists, outlets were saying unlikely on a goalkeeper, unlikely on a midfielder. 4 days later, we're in for a goalkeeper with agreed personal terms. So, you know, that information we had on Monday, when most people were reacting to windows closed, no more deals, we said, nonsense. There's still 2 weeks left in the window. Amorim and Wilcox want a goalkeeper and a midfielder. Looks like we're going to get a goalkeeper. What's happening with the midfielder? Well, it's the same situation. Obviously, I'm very conscious that the window's closing very, very soon. But whilst it's open, I'm hoping that at some point, like yesterday morning, there's just a drop that United... Because if you look at Lammens, that was literally yesterday morning when Romano said Man United are in talks to get Lammens. And then a couple of hours later, it's terms agreed. So there is still days left to be a drop on, you know, United are in talks for, I don't know, Kamara or Edison, or, you know, I don't really know a name. That's the whole point. It can still happen. I think the logical issue is, who is it going to be? I think if there was a few options out there, I'd be a little bit more optimistic. But what shouldn't happen, I'm not going to say what can't happen because it could. What shouldn't happen is we shouldn't close this window without getting a midfielder, because it's been so publicly put out there. And the goalkeeper's like, Amorim doesn't need to say anything about the goalkeeper. We can all see. But Amorim said it on the US tour. The midfield lacks intensity, and there was something else he said. I can't remember the direct quote. That was a midfield that had Agate, Mainu, Casemiro and Bruno. He said that publicly. That midfield is missing something. So if we don't get a midfielder, we know the manager is not happy with this window. We're not happy with this window, and we know he didn't get what he wanted in an area where he publicly said we're missing something. Obviously, post that statement, we went for Belabor, and we thought we're going to fill that gap. And then we didn't get Belabor. So I think it's really important that people realise the window's not shut yet. We're desperately trying to get a midfielder in. And if we do get one in, great. But if we don't get one in, it's not because we didn't want one. It's because they didn't get one. And that's really important, because you're going into a season again, like Ollie did at times, like Jose did at times, Perisic, like Ten Hag did at times, where you start in the season, you're looking around at other clubs and going, they've been given that. I didn't get this. And it's pretty important to go into a 38 Premier League game season without the midfielder that you want, because it's right in the middle of the pitch and games are won and lost there. So are we going to get a midfielder? We shouldn't be closing this window without one. But right here, right now, it's not easy to see who that is going to be. So, yeah, I'm a little bit... I wouldn't say concerned, because things can happen. I just don't know who it's going to be. Yeah, I don't know who it's going to be. I hope the first Bundesliga was a huge success. Community 1, mainstream 0, says Liam. I'll talk to that about that. Well, I can talk to you about it. I'll talk to you about it in a moment, because I want to just wrap this up. Wonder if there is the midfield chat. I wonder if there is an executive from the club here reporting back, because all the transfer targets, the ones we publicly point out, says Seth. Can you give a shout out to my son's birthday, Ryan, says Mick J. I can do. Happy birthday, Ryan. I hope you have a great day. Let's hope Spurs beat City. Mark, looking at Chelsea last night and how well young Esteval played, do you think they cool on wanting Garnacho, and where does that leave him? Look, apparently Garnacho turned down apparently Garnacho turned down Bayern Munich. I watched Bayern last night on the live stream, and Elise, I mean, I wish we'd got Elise. I mean, I know he was good at Palace, but bloody hell, he is one of the best. He is one of the best in the world. The great thing about starting to watch the Bundesliga is, you know, I know how good Luis Diaz is. I know how good Harry Kane is. But bloody hell, Michael Elise is a brilliant player. And, you know, remember Ineos wanted him. Ineos actually wanted Elise. But there's no way Garnacho's getting in that team. I wouldn't say he's better than Gnabry, there's no way he's going to get in there. And I don't know whether he's going to get in at Chelsea, but, you know, the guy thinks he's Ronaldo. So, you know, backs himself. What could be happening is that we know what Goalkeeper will want, so we're moving on him while we decide what direction we're going in the midfield, says Emily Derry. Amrin must get it right who he goes with as Goalkeeper, says Robert McCormack. Robert's really happy. Like, he's already messaged me this morning because he loves Harry Kane, and he just can't believe that his favourite content creator, me, is now putting Harry Kane on his screen, and he can chat about it. So he's just the happiest he's ever been, Robert, at the moment. Chazzy, we've done that. Welcome to Members Club, Tyler. Stuart asked about the midfielder. Tusha says, if we don't sign a midfielder and Lammens is not ready, would you take 60 points mark, or will that be too little and Amrin's gone? I think 60 points this season will put you in the top 8 and he'll still be here, yeah. I wouldn't take it, but, you know, as I said, look, transfer window for me at the moment, how would you mark it out of 10? It's only just over a week until we do it for real. I never give it my final mark until the window is closed. But where we are right now, I'm struggling to move from a 5. I've been at a 5 for a long, long time. I really like Cunha. I really like Mbeumo. I really like Šeško. But the sales are non-existent. The goalkeeper is a priority and the midfielder is a priority. So it's hard. And remember, when we do player ratings tomorrow, 6 is average. 5 is below average, 7 is good. So I'd like to push it up to a 6 or a 7. I don't think we can go any higher than that now, unless something incredible like Baleba happened. But it's a 5. And I don't want the club in relation to Amorim or Wilcox or Barada or Faval to take offence to that. I'm not slagging them off. I understand the limitations. The bomb squad have ruined it. They've absolutely ruined it by selfish... And I really want to make this statement. Garnacho, Antony and Sancho have fucked our transfer window. You can't dress it up any other way. By sitting on their arse for their own selfish means to the end of the window, not only are they driving the price down, they've also prevented us from doing business because we can't get money in. So you can criticise Barada as CEO if you want, or Wilcox, but the reality is they've inherited these issues. They cannot spend money until these players have gone. And people say, well, you can buy them before. Mate, we've already spent £200 million. We're at a point now where even I would say you can't just go and spend another 100 because you don't know what you're getting for Antony or Garnacho. You don't even know if you're going to get anything. And then the club's in big shit. So we have spent before we've sold 200 million. But to do more business, I think we've got to get a bit of money in. And all right, Garnacho looks like he's going to go to Chelsea and that could be 40 million pure profit. But what if it falls through? What if Chelsea say we don't want him? That 40 million's not coming in and you've just spent 40 on a midfielder. So these players, Garnacho, Antony and Sancho specifically, have not only mercenary sat there to get the move they want, they've screwed us over as well. They've screwed this club over. They've screwed the fan base over. They've screwed the team over because them being sat there like that has cost us being able to do deals. So, yeah, I'd give it a 5 out of 10, but I'm fully understanding why it's happened, and I don't really know what you can do. Can it change? I think that you could change it. But you would have to get a midfielder and a goalkeeper, and you might push for a 6 or a 7 once you've got all the players out. Look, I think a few weeks ago, if you'd got Baleba, you got Donnarumma and you got all the players out, you'd probably give it 7.5, maybe an 8. But you've also got to factor in when the deals have been done. Šeško's not actually ready for the start of the season. Not getting a goalkeeper cost us last week. So timing's everything as well. Is Kev still on the channel, John? Yep. He's back from his holidays now. Spoke to Kev the other day. He was in the studio. Sean Turner says, I've watched a bit of this keeper and I don't like him. Sean, come on. Tusha says, some YouTubers who were here a few years ago are out there giving 7.5 to the transfer window since 2 weeks ago. Yeah, but they're probably kissing the arse of the club because they think they're going to get, access or something like that. Access all areas or something like, what they don't realise is the club fully understand the criticism of the fans and, are frustrated themselves. There's people in that football club who are frustrated. There's no one at Man United. Wilcox isn't sat there going, why are we not getting praise? And I'd imagine Omar Barada is the same. They're as frustrated as you are in the sense that they realise this is not the summer they want. It's not like in previous years where there's no value in the market and they're actually happy with what they've done. They're frustrated. They're frustrated that they can't do what needs to be done because they're hindered. So I don't think, honestly, Jason Wilcox, in a private conversation, would give this transfer window anything higher than a 6. I think if he did him in an interview, he'd probably give it a 9. But privately, I think they fully understand it as well. And I think that's a really important point. I think we're at the point now where, who do you blame for this? Because I actually think we're at a point now where I actually do blame Antony, Sancho and Garnacho for their complete and utter mercenary behaviour. It's just ridiculous. Happy birthday to Sam. That's from your bro, Chazzy. Bayern don't let players go in their pomp. Elise won't go anywhere. Also, do you think there's a way Kane work with England? He's too good to leave out, says GGMU. I mean, Harry Kane's a fantastic player. I just don't think he would work in a United side where we've got 2 number 10s. Harry Kane works in a system where he can drop and he's got 2 wide players running past him. He's perfect for Bayern and he was perfect for Spurs. I don't even know if it works for England that well. Let me just check if there's any other news. I'm on the That's Football at 12:15, by the way. Looking forward to it. I absolutely loved the Bayern game yesterday, but Premier League's back today and everybody can watch the watch along because we haven't got Premier League rights. I mean, that would be news. It should happen. I don't know whether that will ever happen, Luke Shaw says, I've been here for a long time and there have been many changes in the squad, but I think this is the best I've experienced. It's not just on the pitch, but off it as well. As much as I want to believe you, Luke Shaw, we won the Europa League with Jose Mourinho and finished 2nd in the league. So I call bullshit. And I'm pretty sure he said that when Ollie was here as well. But, it's nice. It's a nice bit of PR. Tottenham are going to go for Sabinho. Luke Shaw says, last year was a really tough year, not just physically, but mentally. I'm in a good place now. I'm focused on what I need to do, stay fit, keep on the pitch, and I'm enjoying the role the manager's been in. Yeah, well, mate, don't do stupid TikToks on New Year's Eve. Simple as that. When you've been out for a whole year, don't do stupid TikToks on New Year's Eve because that was just, maybe that was because he was in a bad place. I think he's had a decent start to the season. I think when he's fit, he's a very good player. Focus on that. Defo. On the Bundesliga thing last night, by the way, I just think it was, I'm just so proud. I know a lot of you came over. We've got our highlights show that's coming out on Tuesday with all the goals. We're back again next Friday night. I know not all of you watch That's Football, but you should be. It's a fantastic community. It's our sister or brother of the United Stand, who was the original GOAT community, of course. But whatever happens, we've opened another door. When I did that Talk Sport show on my own for 2 hours every Saturday night, no one had ever had a show on their own who was a, YouTuber. And I think YouTube is an offensive term, by the way. I think YouTuber is used by the mainstream to deride what we do, like Simon Jordan said. We're not YouTubers. We're content creators. We're not fan channels. We're football communities. We're the new media. That's what we're building. And there's some more exciting things to come. And my approach has always been, Yes, we're disruptors. Yes, we're new media, but we're also, the door is open to collaborate. We've got some really exciting things coming up. And one day my dream is to have Man United footage on the United stand. Now, that many people would say that's impossible. But if you've been here for 5 minutes and you've just subscribed now, or you've been here for 5 years, you'll know the journey of this. This was one person with an idea starting something that is now being replicated by people who used to work with us, by people who've just copied us, by the mainstream themselves, with all their little fan clips and stuff like that. We've changed the game. And when I say we, you. I can't change it with 5 people watching, but you can change it when you've got nearly 20,000 people watching, hundreds of thousands of people watching. The game is changing. And my dream is to get Man United footage. That's the dream on the United stand. I don't know whether it's possible, but 10 years ago, I didn't think we'd have Bundesliga rights. I didn't think we'd be doing live watch-alongs from stadiums. I didn't think, anything was possible. So it always comes down to you. I'm really excited. And the great thing about these landmarks is haters gonna hate. Absolutely. I get it. You don't have to like it. I don't have to like it, but you have to respect that people do like it. A lot of people do like it. And don't tell people whether they should watch it or not. You might be appalled that things like this happen, but unlucky. So loads of people do like it. It's inclusive. It's a community. It's worldwide. It's successful, and we want to keep building. So I'm very, very excited about it. But it can't happen without you. So I'm just very, very grateful for it. And whatever anybody says, we had a live match between Bayern Munich and RB Leipzig in one of the top 5 leagues in the world on That's Football. Wow. No one can take that away. And you know what? We put the work in last year. We did a proof of concept with the Austrian Bundesliga. Shout out to them. And you end up with the German Bundesliga. So, look, the doors are open. The conversations are happening. There's loads going on. And we will take you along for the ride. Look, it was the first step. That stream last night was UK and Ireland only. And I think some people didn't live in the UK and Ireland and used their imagination as to how they could watch a stream that's restricted to the UK and Ireland. I'm not going to comment on that, But my dream is to make it worldwide. But what we did do is I insisted that we had a second stream that was a general watch along, so that those people who aren't in the UK and Ireland are still part of it. And we still had about 4,000 watching it there. I will not leave the community behind. We're not just going to go behind a paywall, or we're not just going to do it for England. We're going to do it for everybody. That's what we will do, because it's why we're here. Community first. I don't need guests. You're the guests. So thank you everybody for your support. And who knows what's coming next. But it's going to be really exciting. And also from a United point of view, I can't really say this on That's Football, but from a Man United point of view, it's brilliant. It's brilliant because I'm thinking about players for next season. I'm thinking about players that might be coming in, because there was a huge influx of Bundesliga players this summer, and we're already being linked to others. So, doing the highlight show, especially on Tuesday, where we'll have every goal, really going to start to get to know these players early, which is great when we're obviously looking at players for next summer. I mean, Stiller's already been linked to us. There's some really, I like Nusser. I really like Nusser at Leipzig. Somebody should be. He is one of the best players I've seen in a long time. He's raw, but he's almost like Elise. Elise's better, but he's got that. He's nearly 6 foot. He's strong. Scored a cracking goal that got disallowed. He's quick. He only came on at half time. I really like him. I'm not saying United are going to go for him. I don't know whether he fits. I think he would fit us, but we probably don't need him. But someone's going to get a good deal here. That's Football should be sponsored by Surfshark, says John. I would be good compromise if they get rid of the 3 p.m. blackout to stick some free games on YouTube, says Glenn. I'd love it. I'd absolutely love it. I'd do Championship. I'm not bothered. Football, innit? You got to start somewhere. What happened with Chris Rigg? Says Chris Rigg. I don't know. Can Sunderland go 2 for 2 today? Says Liam. Hello, Mark. There is no justification for Man United not to contend for a position with the top 4. It is a contest between 11 players on each side. Success requires courage, says Chin. It's Daisha's birthday today. Happy birthday, says Tahil. Happy birthday, Daisha. And hi, Mark. Romano said Betis are working Antony deal. Yeah, we spoke about that, Dylan. I'm a newbie. I love the show. Try and tune in every day. Love the content and community. Thank you very much, John. So get yourself over to Terry's channel. He's live now, Football Terrace. We're going to push you over there. Also, I'm back at 12:15 on That's Football. It's Premier League watch-alongs, and it's an 8 o'clock show tonight. So obviously, if anything happens in between, we might have a 2 o'clock show. But 2 watch-alongs today on That's Football. Man City, Tottenham, the Premier League's back. Arsenal, Leeds, and then we're back on here at 8 o'clock. So busy day, football's back. That's what we're here for. Take care, stay safe, whatever you're doing. I'll speak to you all in a bit.